There might be a way of existing where your whole life, birth to death, every second of it, isn't something that happens to you, one moment at a time. It's just where you already are, all of it, at once. And if something like that exists, it wouldn't need to travel through time at all. What we'd call a time warp to it, that's not exotic, that's just Tuesday. Here's the idea I started with. What if there's a kind of being that experiences all of time at once, and what we'd call a time warp is just how it gets around? Fun idea, also, as originally stated, wrong in a couple of very specific ways. So instead of just explaining a theory, we're going to stress test one, keep what survives contact with real physics, fix what doesn't, and back up the parts that were already onto something. Stick around to the end, too. There's a twist waiting there that even the being at the center of this theory might not be able to answer. Something about whether it actually has free will or just feels like it does. Let's get into it. Part 1, 2 kinds of fourth dimension. Let's start with something that trips people up immediately. A four-dimensional being can mean two totally different things, and mixing them up wrecks the whole theory. Version 1 is extra space. Think Flatland, the 1884 story where a two-dimensional being living on a flat page can't see inside a circle drawn on that page. A three-dimensional being looking down at the page sees the whole inside at once, easily, just by being above it instead of on it. Now bump that up a level. A being with four spatial dimensions looking at our world would see inside solid objects and sealed rooms just as effortlessly. That version has nothing to do with time, it's just extra room. Version 2, the one this theory actually runs on, is extra time. A being for whom every moment, past and future, is already present, all at once, the same way every room in your house exists, whether you're standing in it right now or not. That's the version we're building from here on. Part 2, why physics says your past never left. Building block number 1, physics actually has a name for a universe where the past and future are just as real as right now. It's called the block universe, or Eternalism. Philosopher J.M.E. McTaggart named the split back in 1908. There's the tensed picture of time where an event was future, is now present, will be past. And there's the tenseless picture where every event is simply earlier or later than every other permanently, with nothing about that relationship ever changing. Eternalism says only the tenseless picture is actually fundamental. The flowing version, the one that feels so obviously true, is just what reality feels like from inside a single moment of it. Why believe something this strange? Because Einstein's equations don't pick out a special now anywhere. They just describe a four-dimensional block of events with nothing marking one slice as the real present. There's a sharper argument for this called the Rietdijk Putnam argument, often illustrated with something called the Andromeda paradox. Picture two people passing each other on a sidewalk, one walking toward you, one walking away. Because of how relativity works, their two right nows, projected out to a galaxy as far as Andromeda, can disagree by whole days. Days of someone else's future, already sitting in another observer's present moment, right now. If both moments are equally real and relativity gives no reason to prefer one, the future isn't waiting to happen. It's just somewhere nobody's looked yet. Not everyone agrees. Some philosophers hold on to presentism, only right now is real, full stop. Others hold a middle position, the growing block universe, where the past and present are real but the future genuinely isn't decided yet. This theory takes the strongest version. Nothing gets decided later because nothing ever needed deciding. So why does time feel like it's flowing? Physicists don't agree here either. Sean Carroll's answer leans on entropy. The universe started oddly ordered, that gives time a direction, and your brain only forms memories in that direction. Carlo Rovelli pushes further, arguing time's flow, maybe even time itself, might not survive into a full theory of quantum gravity. Both are real positions held by serious physicists. Neither is settled fact. Part 3, there's no such thing as frame 47. Now, the original version of this theory imagines something like 100 fixed frames, like a film strip, with the being just hopping between them. Close, but there's a wrinkle. Relativity of simultaneity means there's no universal way to slice time into frames in the first place. Your frame 47 and someone else's frame 47, if they're moving differently than you, literally won't line up. Not because anyone measured wrong, because physics itself doesn't hand you one agreed-upon deck to shuffle through. So the sharper version of this theory isn't a being flipping through a shared stack of 100 frames. It's a being that was never sliced into frames at all. Frames are what you get when you're stuck facing one direction inside the block. Take that constraint away entirely and there's nothing left to even count. Part 4, that's not what superposition means. Next, the original theory used the word superposition, being at 2 points at the same time, to describe how this being exists in every frame at once. Worth getting right, because real superposition is stranger than that. In quantum mechanics, a particle in superposition isn't cloned into 2 spots, the way you're at your desk and also somehow at a coffee shop. It's described by a wave that's a mix of possible outcomes, one that only becomes one definite thing the moment something measures it. A mathematical maybe, not a physical duplicate. And it only happens at a tiny scale. Cats, chairs, and hypothetical 4D beings don't get to stay in superposition. The instant something that large interacts with its environment, that fragile state collapses. Physicists call that decoherence. So a being superpositioned across 100 moments isn't something quantum mechanics itself predicts. Borrowing the word is a metaphor, not an application of the physics, which is fine, it just deserves its own name. This being isn't computing probabilities. It's simply there at all of them without contradiction, the way a ruler has length across every point of itself, without each point being some quantum maybe. Part 5, why it wouldn't even feel like a warp. And here's the part of the original idea that survives every single correction completely intact. Honestly, it's the best part of the whole theory. If a being already exists at every moment, moving between moments isn't travel in any real sense. There's no engine to build. No wall to break through because there was never a wall there to begin with. It's closer to shifting your attention. The same way you can think about breakfast and then next Tuesday without your body actually going anywhere at all. Which means, inside this theory's own logic, a time warp would be nothing special to that being at all. It's just how it gets around, the same way you walk from your kitchen into your bedroom. It only looks exotic, rare, worth naming a warp, from the point of view of something like us stuck in one single frame, facing one direction with no other option available. The strangeness was never in the world, it's entirely on our side of the encounter. Part 6, can they change anything? Okay, but here's a question the theory leaves hanging. If this being can go to any frame by desire, can it actually change anything? Can it edit the past? If the block universe is real, the answer is no. Every moment, including whatever this being does inside it, is already a fixed part of the structure. A visit to some past moment can't alter a later one because the later moment already includes whatever that visit turned out to involve. There's an actual physics proposal shaped exactly like this, the Novikov self-consistency principle, developed in the 1980s for the rare relativity solutions that allow time loops at all. It says any trip through a loop has to already be self-consistent. Paradoxes aren't prevented by some outside force stopping you. They just never happen because the version where you succeed at breaking the timeline was never on the table. Easiest way to think about it, is this a Back to the Future universe where changing the past edits the present, or an interstellar universe where the timeline's fixed and visiting the past just means experiencing something that was always going to include your visit? This theory is firmly the second one. Part 7, the one thing even they might not control. And now the twist I promised you. This being switches frames by desire, which implies real choice. But if the future is exactly as fixed and already existing as the past, which is the whole premise of eternalism, is that choice actually open? Or does it only feel open from inside the being's own experience of making it? The same way our choices might feel open, even in a fully deterministic universe underneath. That's the exact same free will versus determinism argument humans have had for centuries, just handed to a being that can supposedly see the entire argument laid out in front of it, past and future included, all at once. There's no settled answer for us, so there's no reason to expect one here either, which might be the strangest part of this whole theory. Even something that exists everywhere in time might not actually know if it's choosing anything at all. So that's the theory, a being that doesn't travel through time because it was never stuck at one single point in it to begin with. A time warp that isn't a machine, isn't magic, and isn't even a warp from where that being's standing. Just physics, some of it settled, some of it borrowed and renamed, some of it, like that very last question, still completely open. If one part of this stuck with you more than the rest, tell me which one down in the comments. And if you want to see more theories built from scratch like this one, you know exactly what to do.